everybody! Welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. It's late April and we've been visited by some fabulously warm and sunny weather, so we thought we'd pop outside today and breathe some of it in. I'm going to do a calendar blanket update. It's been a couple months and my blanket's coming along very nicely, and a lot of you have asked how I'm putting all my squares together. I'm using a very quick join-as-you-go method for my little mini granny squares. So I thought I would show you how my blanket's coming and also show you my quick join method for my little mini granny squares today on the show. So let's head back to the craft room and, well, I'll see you all there. So, thanks for joining me in the craft room, and here is the blanket. So this is everything, every day of 2016 so far, up to April the 19th. And as you can see, let me just get the last week going here, it's been really warming up lately. So this blue is my 0 degree mark, or my 0 degrees Celsius. This is all based on Celsius. And I sort of made all of my squares in 5-degree intervals. So you have to warm up to that 5-degree interval before I can change colors. So this is my 0 degrees, this is my 5 above, this is 10 above, this is 20 above. We had a really hot day here a couple days ago, and it was so nice. We were all outside, patio weather. Anyway, I'm going to do April the 20th for you today, and April the 20th was a 10 degree above zero day. So that, for me, is dark green. And I thought I would show you how I join my squares as you go, since a lot of you have been asking. So let me get my little mini granny square started, and then I'll show you how I join them. All of my little granny squares are just 2 rows large. So there's row 1 and row 2. So my granny squares don't get very big for this project, which is great because then I can make a lot and I don't get exhausted. So I've started my next granny square and I've done row 1, and this is green, so it's not entirely easy to see, but there's my 4 corners. And I'm going to chain 3 to start my second and last row. I'm going to flip my work. I'm going to work now backwards, and I'm going to start my shell into my corner, just like I would if I was making any other granny square. But I'm joining this to an existing blanket that already has a bunch of squares on the go. So I have to concern myself with how many sides I'm joining. And I'm just going to bring my blanket in here and show you. So this is where the next square is going to go. And that means I have to join to this side and this side, which means I'm going to have 2 sides left sort of on their own or free. So I want to get myself up to a point where I join for those 2 sides. So I will show you what I mean. I'm just going to complete my first corner, and I'm going to show you where to imagine this corner on the finished square. So here's my first corner. That's shell, chain, chain, shell. So I'm doing the same old granny square pattern that I've done many, many times on the channel. So my corners are shell, chain, chain, shell. Each shell is 3 double crochet. I like 2 chains in the corner because it gives it that nice 90-degree angle. And I like 1 chain as a spacer between all of the shells that run across the side. Because I'm only on row 2, that means that the next space I'm working into is a corner space. So there's really not a whole lot of side to these granny squares. But it's the same concept, the bigger you go. So I'm going to work my next shell here. And this shell is part of my second corner. So here is where it's going to fit. The first shell I made, or the first corner, is this bottom right corner. I chained 1, I completed the next shell, which is part of the next corner, so looks like it's part of this corner here. And now I need to connect. I need to connect at the corner to the top, so this side, and then I will connect all the sides, so I should say all the corners going down this side. So I know that sounds funny, but it's not as difficult as it sounds. So I've done my first shell. I'm going to chain 1 because I'm starting into my corner spaces, but before I do my next chain, I'm going to pick up the blanket. I'm going to identify the corner, so there's the corner space of this side of this square. That's where I want to join it to. So I'm going to put my hook up there, grab my yarn, and just slip stitch. So nothing fancy, I'm just going to slip stitch around that corner. So now it's connected. I'm going to finish chaining through my corner, so that's my second chain, and then I'm going to work my next shell into the same place. So it's a little bit cumbersome with the blanket sort of attached, but I'm going to go slowly so you can sort of see what I'm doing. So it's my first double crochet, my second double crochet, and my third double crochet. So that completes that shell. And if I lay it down here, you can see that I've completed my second corner. Now I'll bring that closer so that you can see it. So there's my first corner, chain one, and my second corner. And my second corner is connected literally in the corner chain to the corner space of that other square. So I still want to put in a spacer, so a single chain between my shells along the side, but I also want to connect it. And since there's a space there, so there's the next space, or this sort of the connector chain in between shells for that square, I'm going to put my hook in here and slip stitch. Nothing fancy. Then I'm going to continue working my square. So sort of every time you slip stitch or join to an existing side, kind of forget that you're working it and just go back to concentrating on the square that you're making. So I've chained my one spacer. Here's my next space to work. It's a corner space, so I'm going to start a corner, which requires a shell. So I'm going to work directly into that space and double crochet 3 times. Okay, I need to start my corner chains, so I will chain 1, but before I finish, I want to join now with a slip stitch to that last corner on this side. So I'm going to slip my hook through that corner space, see? Grab the yarn and slip stitch. And because I also want to connect now going down the other side, I'm going to take this opportunity to connect to that other space in my next side. So I still have not chained my second chain. I'm going to slip stitch into this space as well, so this corner. I will now have effectively attached my granny square to 2 corners as I make my corner for my third granny square corner on my new granny square. So I chained 1, I connected with 2 slip stitches to those 2 corners. I'm going to complete my corner chains. This is my other chain. And now I'm just going to ignore the fact that I'm working by attaching to these other squares, and I'm going to go back into that corner and finish the corner by creating my second shell. So I'm still working shell, chain, chain, shell, but because I'm attaching to a couple of sides, while I chain, I'm also slip stitching into those extra spaces. So here we go. There's the corner. In between the chains in the corner, I attached with a slip stitch to the first corner. Finished the corner by creating a shell, chained 1 for a spacer, and slip stitched into that space. So see how it corresponds with the space created between these 2 shells. Worked into the next space, which is a corner space, which is a shell, chained 1, and because I'm entering the corner where I have to make sure that I'm attached to 2 different sides, I slip stitched into both corners before chaining 1 again and completing my last shell for that corner. We're almost done this side, so I'm going to chain 1. That's my spacer. I want to slip stitch into the corresponding space of this other square here, and then continue working into the next space, which is a corner. So I'm going to work a shell, and I'm going to chain 1, so I'm starting into my corner. I have 1 more corner space that I want to attach to, so I'm going to slip my hook through there, slip stitch, and that's it. I have now created attachments to those 2 sides. So I don't have to create any more attachments. I can finish my bottom row, but I need to finish my corner by chaining 1. I'm going to flip my blanket around here so it's a little easier. So I've completed shell, chain, slip stitch, chain. I need one more shell into that corner space to complete that second, or I should say my last corner here on my second row. There we go. One more chain before I complete my row, and I attach with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that I started with. Snip my yarn, fasten off, and I also weave in all my ends as I go. So I'll grab my yarn needle here in a minute and I'll weave that in around on the back so that they're all hidden on the back. But there you go. There is my next granny square, and it's attached as I go to the next logical space, and that's 2 sides that require attaching. So if you do the sort of chain as you go or join as you go granny square method, you only really have to worry about 2 sides that you're attaching to. And basically all you're doing is making sure you join in the corner. So I do that join between my corner chains. Join in the next space, or if you've got bigger granny squares, join in every single space along the side, and then you just do the same thing in the corners. Only difference here is that I slip stitched into both of those corners, one right after the other, before continuing with the rest of my corner. And that's it in a nutshell. And that is the April update. So that's everything now up to April the 20th. And that's a lovely green square. I like that. And that is also how I do join as you go granny squares, especially with these mini ones. It's a great way to do it. And another reason I'm using the join as you go method for this particular blanket is so my squares don't get out of order. I want to remember which color belonged to what temperature on what day, and this is a great way to make sure that none of them go amiss. The only downside to join as you go is that you have to sort of have the whole blanket with you while you're working on the squares, because you can't just sort of make all your squares and then bring them home and join them. You have to join them all as you're working your final row. But if this is something that you want to do and you don't want to lose track of where you're at, join as you go is a great way to do it. And it's fun too with these tiny little squares. So, and I also really like the way it looks. You get this sort of neat ridge effect happening, and it really adds to that pixelated quality that I think looks so cool with this style of blanket. So that is that. And I will give you guys another update in a little while, and we'll see how far along the blankets come and what colors have made it into the color spectrum. I think with these rising temperatures I might be getting into the oranges and pinks, and I'm really excited about that. I just can't wait to see what this blanket is going to look like at the end of the year. It is going to be so pretty. I just love that pixelated rainbow effect. Anyway, that is it for this week, everybody. We will see you again next week on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, be safe, stay crafty, and have an awesome week. Bye!